päivää kaikille kuuntelijoille ympäri maailmaa. Finlandia Foundation Nationalin puolesta kiitän teitä suuresti siitä, että olette mukana syksyn ensimmäisessä Finnposiumissa. Tänään saamme keskustella eräästä suomalaisen urheiluhistorian todellisesta legendasta Paavo Nurmesta. 100 vuotta sitten Nurmi lähetti kiertueelle Yhdysvaltoihin. Tämän päivän keskustelussa palaamme tähän historian muutaman erityisvieraan kanssa. God dag till alla lyssnare runt om i världen. På uppdrag av Finlandia Foundation National vill jag tacka er alla så mycket för att ni är med oss på höstens första Finnposium. Idag får vi tala om en av de verkligt bestående finska legenderna, Paavo Nurmi. För 100 år sedan gav sig Nurmi ut på en turné i USA. I dagens samtal återvänder vi till denna historia tillsammans med några speciella gäster. Greetings and welcome to all of our listeners from around the world. On behalf of Finlandia Foundation National, thank you so much for joining us for the first Finnposium of the fall season. Today we get to talk about one of our true lasting Finnish legends, Paavo Nurmi. 100 years ago, Nurmi embarked on a tour in the United States. And in today's conversation, we will revisit that history with a few special guests. My name is Tommy Flanagan. I'm the Executive Director of Finlandia Foundation. And our Finnposium event series offers us an online platform for Finns, Finnish Americans, and friends of Finland, all of you, to highlight interesting and important topics from around Finnish America and Finland. From film discussions and historical topics to culinary excursions and exclusive interviews, Finnposium always offers us, above all, a chance to learn something new. In today's session, it's about Finnish sports history and connections to today. This session will be made available as a recording on YouTube after today's conversation. We have quite a special treat in store. I'm guessing that many of you in our audience today are at least somewhat familiar with Paavo Nurmi because you're Finnish or you're Finnish American, or maybe you're a runner, or all three of those things. But to some extent, you've heard of one of these famous flying Finns. And in fact, for many Finns and Finnish Americans, the very name Paavo Nurmi elicits one of the quintessential Finnish feelings and words that we've all come to know and love, sisu. But what do you know of Nurmi's story beyond his grit and perseverance? Today, we get to talk to some real experts in that field who will tell us a bit about that story and likely tell you some things that you may not have known to this point. So this is all, of course, even further outlined in the prolific new book in English, and we are lucky to have the author of that book here today. So help me welcome two special guests we have from Finland. Kalle Virtapohja is the author of Phantom Finn, The Contradictory Story of Paavo Nurmi in the Land of Dollars, a story that uncovers the complexities behind Nurmi's famed 1925 American tour, during which he competed before massive audiences while navigating controversies over professionalism and his Olympic eligibility. Virtapohja is a famous and renowned Finnish sports journalist, and we're so lucky to have him on today. And I have to mention, you can comment in the chats. Yesterday was his birthday, so hyvää syntymäpäivää, a little belated. Feel free to wish him birthday wishes in the chat. He's joined today by Jari Salonen, who is CEO of the Paavo Nurmi Games. He will share insights into the evolution of that prestigious athletic event that was founded in 1957 in Nurmi's hometown of Turku. Now part of the World Athletics Continental Tour Gold, the Games continue to honor Nurmi's competitive spirit and discipline-driven legacy, something we honor at FFN as well. Kalle and Jari were also featured this year at FinnFest in Duluth, Minnesota. Many of you may have caught them there, where they talked to a room full of Finns and Finnish Americans and friends of Finland about Nurmi's history. We were lucky at Finlandia Foundation to host them both at our very own Finnish American Heritage Center in Hancock for a personal book signing and talk. And I need to tell you all, this book is on sale right now at FFN's own retail bookstore in Hancock and online at Northwind Books. And right now you can take advantage of a 20% discount for being here, for paying attention, and for being interested in this topic. I'm convinced that after you hear Kalle and Jari speak today, you'll want to get your very own copy. And by the way, these make one of the best Finnish American holiday gifts that you could possibly think of this year. So get on that while the discount's still valid. And finally, to moderate today's session, we have one of our very own Finlandia Foundation national members, Anne-Marie Pastor. As a native and former Turku resident herself, Anne-Mari brings a personal lens to this discussion. Having recently visited Nurmi's modest childhood home, she will reflect on how his story continues to resonate both in Turku and in the United States, connecting generations through this shared narrative of resilience, ambition, and Finnish sisu. Anne-Mari is former president of Finlandia Foundation National. This is truly the perfect fusion of culture, history, sports, Finland, and the United States, which exceptionally exemplifies what FFN is as an organization. Should you have comments or questions today, feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A throughout the session. There will be time at the end to deal with these. And if we don't get to your question, don't worry, Kalle will note them and we'll be writing a post-presentation write-up that you will likely get after the presentation in the coming days. So stick around and stay tuned. And with that, let me hand it over to one of our very favorite varsinaissuomalainen, egentliga finländare, or maybe Paavo Nurmi was that, but maybe our second favorite, Anne-Mari Pastor. Tervetuloa, the floor is yours.
Hi, hello everyone. It's nice to be here today, and I'm going to give a short intro to today's presentation. Paavo Nurmi always planned and timed his runs. I will be doing the same here, using this stopwatch. This is a replica of the one Nurmi held when running at the Olympic Games in 1924. So here we go. I met Kalle and Jari last November in Helsinki for the first time. At the Suomi-Seura event where Finlandia Foundation National's Saving Finland in America campaign received an Expatriate of the Year 2024 award. This is just less than a year ago. At the time, Kalle's book was in the works, and Jari's idea about Paavo Nurmi Games as part of Diamond League was taking its first steps. A couple of days after this first meeting, I was in a train en route to Turku to meet Jari again. Before the meeting, he took me to Paavo Nurmi's small home in Jarrumiehen katu. Jarrumies means a brakeman in English, the one who slows down or stops the train. That's not very descriptive of Paavo Nurmi. He did not live to that. He did not have any breaks in him. Since that meeting, we have been having calls, we've been planning and thinking of different ways to collaborate. Our first materialized project was last summer when Kalle and Jari traveled to the US. They will be talking about that in detail. Today's talk will cover first a discussion of Kalle's book, Phantom Finn, and Paavo Nurmi in the United States in 1920s. Then they will cover their exciting trip to Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan last summer. And lastly, they will take a look forward into what's next. In FinnFest, Kalle and Jari had a presentation about Paavo Nurmi, as Tommi already mentioned. The final question from the audience was Paavo Nurmi a legend, or was that an overstatement? I was quick to state, yes, he is a legend. But here is a bit more to clarify my conviction. First, he was a man who did most to make Finland known. Paavo Nurmi's international reputation aroused a sense of pride in Finland. He was one of our best ambassadors, especially during the early decades after Finland becoming independent. Alongside Jean Sibelius, Nurmi was the most internationally known Finn in the interwar period. They and their achievements really put independent Finland on the world's map. Paavo Nurmi is a worldwide concept, a legend of a superman. Secondly, the national importance of Nurmi's achievements was understood by the Finnish government, who decided to immortalize the champion runner in a brass statue. Not many people can claim a memorial statue while they are still alive, and at the age of only 27. When I go to Turku, I always pass this statue and take photos. every single time. Go figure. And there is also one in front of the Olympic Stadium in Helsinki. And thirdly, in Kalle's book, Paavo Nurmi is described in at least 14 different ways that I could find, and it's all in capital letters. Phantom Finn, Flying Ghost of Finland, Flying Marvel, Finnish Marvel, Greatest Runner, King of Runners, Miracle Runner, Running Robot, Modern Mercury, Nur Mercury, Åbo Antelope, Åbo Athlete, and Phenomenon. That he really was. Now let's start with the presentation. Before Kalle takes over, I want to ask you, Jari, how did Conquering America project start, and what were the drivers?
Thank you, Anna-Maria, and thank you for those excellent forewords to this webinar. Of course, we have been thinking about Paavo Nurmi for a long time, and I myself have been privileged to work with sports and sports events in Paavo Nurmi's club and for the club for almost 35 years now. So I'm kind of veteran with these Paavo Nurmi things and events. During that time, I've had also opportunity to visit New York a couple of times to see Milrose Games where Paavo Nurmi competed, and also to visit New York Athletic Club. So in a way, I have sensed the feeling that and the connection that Paavo Nurmi has had with USA, and to see Paavo Nurmi's name in a trophy, Wanamaker trophy in New York Athletic Club and Milrose Games Hall of Fame. It was a very special thing. So those events have been a kind of peaks in my career. And of course, life is full of wonderful coincidences. And this event that we had in Suomi-Seura's event last was in November. I think it was a very lucky coincidence for us, and it kind of helped us to clear the idea of Paavo Nurmi coming back to USA. I've been thinking about that for more than 10 years now, and how to do it. And this book of Kalle has written gives us a nice step to that. My connections and relationship with Kalle started almost 20. I think it was over 20 years ago when Kalle was still working in newspaper Turun Sanomat here in Turku as a manager of a sports division, and I was of course already managing sports events. After that, and along with Kalle's writing career started, he has been our expert and specialist in these legacy things, and written several books about Nurmi already, and I must say that this is by far the best I've written so far. But not more from me. I think we should have the author speak himself. How did you come up with the idea to write the book, and even with English as an original language, because that's something special? What do you think, Kalle? Now it's your turn.
Thank you, Jari. I try to put on my presentation. I wonder if it's okay.
Yes,
it's perfect now.
No, thank you. Yes, for me, writing about Paavo Nurmi was familiar, but writing in English, it wasn't an easy decision, and I'm going to go through answer in a slow way to your question. But first of all, I want to say that this book is about sports history, cultural heritage, and national heritage, maybe about national identity as well. These are the topics that I realize I have covered in several of my books. And it is not just centimeters and seconds that I'm interested in, but it is also, I usually like to take a broader view. I've written my first book about Paavo Nurmi in 2017 for the 120 years of Paavo Nurmi's, since Paavo Nurmi's birth. It was a biography. Then the next year, I wrote a book about the foundation, the Heart Foundation, that he established in 1968. And last year, I wrote a book of Nurmi as an entrepreneur. He was a construction builder in Helsinki. So different views. And now I had this American tour, a special, very special event in his career. And I thought that someone might have liked to translate these books, some of these books, like the 2017 book, but no one showed interest in that. So I started to think maybe I should try to write the book particularly to a foreign audience, and the American tour for American readers. And it was in June last year, 2024, I was still thinking if this is the right choice. And we were at the Paavo Nurmi Games that Jari runs. Here you can see our president, Alexander Stubb, and Jari and his team, together with some of the best track and field athletes in Finland, together. And then there's another photo of me and Chris Turner, who is a great fan of Finland and Finnish athletics. And he's the director of the Museum of World Athletics. So he takes care of the heritage work of athletics in global level. And he said, certainly you need to write it in English. And I didn't realize it was British humor that he was using in that moment. But he's a good guy. He promised to help if there's some problems. And if a Finn writes with my skills a book in English, you really need help in some point. And the help was a British sports journalist, Simon Turnbull, that Jari and through Jari's network and through Chris came to help in the proofreading session. The book in itself has 5, let's say, themes. First, it is those 53 races that Paavo Nurmi ran in 1925 in the US and Canada. Another theme was the long history of Finnish immigrants in America, almost 400 years of immigration history. Then the third theme was the flying Finns. There were several good Finnish distance runners in America before Paavo Nurmi arrived, and they were nicknamed Flying Finns. And the most famous of them was Hannes Kolehmainen, the hero from the Stockholm Olympics 1912. He was an immigrant living in New York. And the fourth theme is this great shift in sports from amateurism to professionalism. It happened in 1920s, and it happened in several sports, and Paavo Nurmi was in the middle of that shift. And the last theme is soft diplomacy, and Paavo Nurmi has a great role also in that. So I start with these 53 races that Paavo Nurmi ran, and I'm going to skip in this presentation the immigration part. But it is in the book anyway. So, but this tour started in 6th of January 1925 in New York, Madison Square Garden. More than 10,000 spectators were watching Paavo Nurmi's first run, and it was advertised in the newspapers quite well. It was Paavo Nurmi had been in New York for almost 1 month at that time, and there were so many newspaper articles about him coming over to America, and maybe his capability of running the sharp turns in the indoor tracks. There were no indoor tracks in Finland, so it was a tricky question if he can adjust to those sharp turns. And New York was the place where he raced most, almost 20 races. And here you can see just an example, a booklet that was made when he came to Minneapolis in April 1925. It is it was there was a band when the train arrived in Minneapolis. There was a band playing. The mayor was there, and they made a parade from the railway station to the hotel where Paavo Nurmi and Willi Ritola, another famous Finnish runner, had their meal before the race. And they had 2 races there in Hippodrome that's situated in St. Paul. I come to that later on. And the tour consisted of 4 races in Canada, and they went from the East Coast to West Coast, and it was just a huge exhibition, and we come to that later.
Kalle, just go back one. I'm just interested in hearing, like, 53 races in a couple of months, and how many miles did he run during that time? It was, and when I read the book, it was also traveling back and forth, so it wasn't kind of like very smooth travel planning. So I wonder, how many miles did he run during this couple of months, and how many miles did he travel?
I think he traveled about 50,000 miles, and I haven't counted how many miles he raced, but I think it was more than 100 miles. More than that, he did have in some parts, he did have 3 races in a row. 3 races. He tried to win all those races. He didn't succeed in the first time. He did it once again. He didn't succeed. For the third time, he finally succeeded to run 3 races in 3 days and win them all.
He had an amazing stamina.
Amazing stamina. Some of the races were handicap races. They tried to calculate the distances, the handicaps for the slower runners. And a couple of times there was a miscalculation. So someone got to the final won Paavo in that kind of race. So it was not so much fun for Paavo to realize he couldn't catch the last runner. So, okay, and all these arrangements to making these calculations and arranging the competitions, there was a huge job for his manager, and it is most peculiar that Paavo Nurmi was the best amateur runner, and he traveled with the manager. The managers are known in professional sports, not in amateur sports, but they didn't pay attention to this. Hugo Quist was a Finnish American, and it was good because when Paavo arrived, he didn't speak English. It was not common to learn English in Finland before the Second World War. So Paavo needed this manager to do the translations. And the funny thing is, they both were quiet Finnish men, so they didn't talk much. And above all, as Paavo didn't speak English, it was a bit. There came awkward situations because, of course, the journalists wanted to get the answers from Paavo. Later during that tour, Paavo, of course, learned English and he could speak for himself also. And you can see this is an example also what kind of news they made, because Paavo was, like you, Anne-Mari, said, he was this miracle runner. And he could break all the records. So it was even big news that he was fairly normal. All the measurements, his height and length of his legs and hands and shoulders and everything, they measured everything. And then they said, he's fairly normal. So physics didn't explain his superiority. Then the media, they went crazy after him. The best journalists of that time followed him: Grantland Rice, Walter Camp, Paul Gallagher, and George Trevor, just to mention maybe the most famous writers. And I wrote about those journalists in the American Uutiset in April. It was interesting to see one of the peculiarities of that tour was the visit to White House, and there's the photo of that visit. There's President Calvin Coolidge in the center, Paavo Nurmi on his right-hand side, and Joey Ray from Chicago, the best American miler, on the left from the president. And special occasion, I think we come to that later on. Here's what Walter Camp, a legendary journalist and sports leader, said. His visit here resulted in the greatest indoor track season in history. This was, I think this is most touching, as it was just a couple of weeks before Walter Camp's death that he wrote this. So he might have written even more about Paavo Nurmi, but this is a great testimonial of Paavo's tour. So let's talk about the other good Finnish distance runners who were in America. There was a talk about several Finnish runners to take US citizenship. Even for Paavo Nurmi, there was the discussion, maybe he becomes American. And it was the biggest nightmare of the Finnish sports leaders, that when he goes to America, maybe he changes his citizenship. Well, Paavo Nurmi was the most famous of the Finnish Americans. And then Ville Ritola, the greatest rival of Paavo Nurmi. And as Paavo Nurmi's American tour took 6 months in the US, when Paavo came back to Finland, then there came another great runner, 1924 marathon Olympic winner Albin Stenros came and stayed there for more than 1 year. He also came back to Finland. And some of the Finnish runners did change their citizenship, like Carl Linder and Ralph Williams. They were running for America in the Olympics. So it was like Kenya today. There are several Kenyans running for the US in the Olympics. One of the great stories that I tell in the book is the transcontinental foot race. The best runner in that race was a Finnish-born John Salo. He was born close to Viipuri, Karelia, and he became an immigrant. And when he saw Paavo Nurmi race in 1925, he realized he wanted to test himself, and he started to train for the 1928 Olympic Games. But then he heard about this transcontinental foot race. They were running from Los Angeles to New York, and it was just crazy effort, and a great story of Sisu also. Some of the Finnish runners have been very successful in the Boston Marathon and also in the New York City Marathon, although none of the Finnish runners have won the New York City. Esa Tikkanen was second in 1981.
I would also say that the current day flying Finns, now we have one lady in the group. I would call Alisa Vainio, who was 5th in the World Championship Games in marathon running, I would call her and give her a title of the Flying Finn also.
True,
Sure.
true. Yes, yes. Jari knows more about her because Jari works with present-day athletes. But if we continue with these historical runners, there was this shift, the discussion of amateurs becoming professionals. Paavo Nurmi was the greatest Olympian of the time, and in Olympic Games, the rules said they were only for amateurs, and like soccer, the best players from Uruguay, they were professionals. So that's the reason, because the professional football players were not allowed to play anymore in the Olympics. They started the World Cup of football, and there was a sad story about her American talented hurdler Helen Filke. She was from Chicago. She was the best hurdler in the world, a young girl, and she was declared professional before the 1932 Olympics, as did Paavo Nurmi. It was the destiny for Paavo not to be allowed to run and to try to win the Los Angeles marathon in 1932. If I switch to the fifth theme about soft diplomacy, it's like ping pong diplomacy that the US has used in China, did use in China. Paavo Nurmi and Finland used it already in the 1920s. Finland had just become independent, and we needed this recognition from other countries, and that's why it was so important that Paavo Nurmi was invited to the White House, and I believe he's the first Finn ever to visit there, representing the independent Finland. Calvin Coolidge was the host president, and there was another president who was in favor for Finland, who the Finns liked very much because of what he did, Herbert Hoover. When the Winter War started in 1939, President Herbert Hoover started a Finnish relief fund. They were gathering funds for Finland. And Paavo Nurmi was sent together with the world record runner Taisto Mäki to compete in America and to raise funds for Finland. And when Paavo Nurmi arrived in January 1940 to New York, he said, "We need airplanes." He was like Zelensky today, going around and asking for help. Another spectacle for Paavo Nurmi was the Cold War Olympics, Helsinki 1952. The organizers of the Olympics asked if Paavo would be the one who brings the Olympic torch to the Olympic Stadium. And it was a sentimental moment when Paavo arrived in the stadium and brought the Olympic torch there. And then in the 1960s, Finland did again use Paavo's reputation, as we had this close relationship with Moscow. It was not easy to be like president of Finland. Our president Urho Kekkonen was a strong president, but his hands were tied in a way to Moscow through the treaties and so on. So when Kekkonen visited Washington in 1961, something changed. 2 years later, Vice President Johnson visited Helsinki, and Paavo Nurmi was brought to meet Johnson. And half a year later, when Johnson was in White House as president, Paavo Nurmi was invited to the White House. And our ambassador, Seppälä, was accompanied Paavo Nurmi to the White House. It was the first time our ambassador came to White House. So it's Paavo Nurmi did have a role there, and he also met with several American ambassadors in Helsinki as well. But yes.
Let's go
That's about.
Start with the Paavo Nurmi tour, or your tour, actually, to Finland, from Finland to the United States here.
Yes. I think I can grab onto this. Thank you, Kalle. And as we could hear, a non-fiction writer is a very detailed storyteller also, and this is a picture from me and Kalle in early June when we released the book in Finland, and had an opportunity to have Lasse and Päivi Viren as our guests in that occasion. And while talking about our plans, as I said already earlier, that we should come back to USA, we should bring Paavo Nurmi back to USA. We were discussing about that with Lasse and Päivi, and as you of course all know, Lasse Viren is the 4-time Olympic champion from Munich 72 and Montreal 76, 5 and 10 Ks in both those Olympic games. So a living legend in Finland, and we talked with Lasse and Päivi, and when we said that we are going to FinnFest with Kalle, Lasse and Päivi said we have been there too. I think they said they have been twice in FinnFest earlier, and it was a nice coincidence there. I have personally been really privileged to know Lasse Viren already from the 1990s, and got to know that his relationship with Paavo Nurmi is also a very interesting one, because he was supposed to meet Paavo Nurmi in 1973, and just a day before their meeting came a phone call, and the message from the phone call was that Paavo Nurmi is dead. So the meeting was cancelled, and it was a interesting story there too. But of course, we started to planning to join FinnFest, and of course the first target and idea was to visit that event and help Northwind Books in the launch of the Phantom Fin in US, and then of course promote that. And I must say it was very impressive to see and hear Kalle perform and tell about this writing process in front of the audience in FinnFest. It was first time for me also to visit FinnFest. As I said, I have been in New York several times with sports ideas, but this was something special, and to meet with Ambassador Mikkola and several others in FinnFest was something unforgettable. And of course, it was something that I wasn't seen before. That maybe to come with Paavo, to bring Paavo Nurmi back to US, you should do it from the Finnish Americans' point of view, and for that Duluth and FinnFest was the first starting point, and a special one too. After FinnFest, we continued to Hurley, Wisconsin, and met with Paavo Nurmi, the original Paavo Nurmi marathon arrangers there, and it was some kind of special thing too, and I'm sure that some good ideas already raised there, and then we will start cooperating with our Paavo Nurmi marathon here in Turku and the Paavo in Hurley, Wisconsin, and the post FinnFest events in Hancock, kind of a special thing there too, and as Hockey Nation, we also got to visit several ice hockey arenas and the birthplaces of professional hockey. That was very special too. The man here in the middle of the picture, famous architect David Salmela, was also one person we got to meet and even got to visit his home in Duluth, in Duluth, and it was very special, and what made it very even more special was that David had a nickname, Paavo, when he was a young boy, and for his sisu and perseverance, he had some difficulties with his legs when he was a small boy, and he told the story about that and how his friends called him Paavo after that, and he was happy to receive a Paavo Nurmi T-shirt from us. So very special meetings during our race and tour after Paavo Nurmi's footsteps. Maybe that's those are the most important things that come to my mind now, and of course for Kalle and for me too, it was nice to meet relatives, Kalle's relatives from US also.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes, we had a great family reunion in Ironwood, and we also visited Hurley, and we visited Hancock, the Northwind books, and did some signing for the books. So April Stevens has some books to sell, and I just want to show some of the media reactions of the book. In Finland, the #1 sports magazine, Urheilulehti, gave the full points, 5 out of 5 for the book. And I visited also the Finnish broadcasting company, the best radio talk show by Kalle Haatanen, and got good feedback from that visit. And the person over there showing his book, Mr. Sebastian Coe, the president of the World Athletics, happily showing his copy of the book. So this is about the presentation. Yeah.
So what about what's next in the plans? I wonder, Jari, like the this American tour in 1925, those relationships built then, do you think that they have carried on to this day and into your current plans in any ways?
Yes, thank you, Anna-Mari. I think in a way they have, but to be honest, 100 years is a long time. So it's very difficult to find persons who really knew Nurmi. But it was great to see that it raises interest, and there are persons that know or knew someone who knew, or they have heard about his tour, and this Kalle's book tells very well also the surroundings of the sports and things related to that, and that gives much more to grab on. But as for the future, of course, this book and this tour of us strengthens the idea again. I'm repeating myself, but to bring Paavo Nurmi back to US, and now we have really found clear bridges in several areas. One of his, of course, sports. One is this Finnish American identity, and of course the third one is this academic. And now I think we can broaden the bridge for all those three levels, and then with respect for the coming years, of course, everybody knows that 2028 will be next Summer Olympics. They will be held in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles is the place where Paavo Nurmi competed in 1921 in April 25, and in the same stadium where the 2028 Olympics will be held, Coliseum. It's very interesting fact, and Paavo Nurmi was there also in 1932 in Los Angeles Olympics, and his plan was to end his career for winning the marathon. But as Kalle told earlier, he was announced professional and not allowed to compete, and that didn't happen. And 2029 is very important year for us in two ways. One is that our home city, Turku, Paavo Nurmi's home city, Turku, will celebrate its 800 years anniversary in 2029, and it's also a year of Paavo Nurmi's second American tour in 29, sorry, 100 years ago. So we're seeing a very interesting Olympiad ahead of us, with many different ideas to do in USA, and one of those is, of course, that FFN, Finlandia Foundation National, is turning 75 years in 2028, and I think I'm sure that we will go hand in hand towards that anniversary year with Paavo Nurmi, and I'm expecting a real concrete steps with Paavo Nurmi coming back to US.
And also Paavo Nurmi games in Turku becoming Diamond League games.
Yes, of course. That I didn't mention. 2029, we want to be at Diamond League level. Paavo Nurmi Games is already at the moment top 20, one of the top 20 meetings in the world, and we have targeted that by 2029 we should be in a Diamond League and celebrating that with our home city Turku together. And that is our not only a dream anymore, but also a target.
It will become reality one day. It really will. Kalle, could you actually just quickly go back to some of the reviews? Like you have had some international reviews before you read a little blurb from your book.
Yes, thank you. There is there are a couple of sports history publications that are going to write about the book. Journal of Sports History and Sport Industry Hub are considering to run a review of the book, and also French running magazine, I think it's coming out in Belgium, called Zatopek, is going to run a series of articles of Paavo Nurmi next year. So it is getting a very good exposure, if I may say so. But one of the great things that I discovered writing this book, I found the reason why Paavo Nurmi was nicknamed Phantom Finn, and it was the poem of sports journalist Grantland Rice. And after the Paris Olympic Games, Grantland Rice wrote a poem of Nurmi. It was published as part of his syndicated Spotlight column, for instance, in the Times Leader in August 1924. And here it goes. What are you, phantom that drifts and glides, ghost or man as you hit the track, mile by mile with your spectral strides, far in front of the reeling pack? They are men as we know the race, swift and strong where the heart is true, yet they break at your killing pace, floundering on in the wake of you. So I think it's a great discovery that when here started the story of Phantom Finn.
Thank you, Kalle. That was a great little chapter from the book of, and I personally, I love the book. It's I didn't know what to expect, as you are a science writer, but it was extremely interesting. And Jari, before we go to the questions, you sponsored this book also. So what's your testimonial now at the tail end?
Yes, although I might be just a little biased, but after seeing all the books written of Paavo Nurmi before, I think this is by far the best book so far, and it has so many interesting angles, and in fact, it's the first book which is a clear Netflix material. It's so good. It's so good, and it's written to Finnish Americans and Americans, and it's as Tommy said in the start, it's a perfect Christmas gift this season.
And I would say that if you are interested in sports, or if you are interested in history in general, this book carries it all. Like it's broader than what we think. Okay, Tommy, now it's back to you, and you can run if we have any audience questions here.
Yeah, fantastic. First of all, thank you so much to Kalle and Jari for being here, joining from Finland. Anna-Mari, we're right on time. Wow, that was right at the top of the hour there. Fantastic. I'm glad you were keeping us on time. We're very used to that. Anna-Mari keeping us on track. We love that. Yes, but as they said, you can get this book now at Northwind Books. We encourage you to do so. There was lots of comments in there. One interesting comment, of course, from your time when you visited us in Hancock, at the Finnish American Heritage Center. There was also part of the former Finlandia University, a Paavo Nurmi gym, or a Paavo Nurmi building. Of course, it's still there. It's not part of the university anymore, but you got a chance to see that as well. Did that play into your tour or your sort of the whole storyline at all when you visited Hancock and saw that building?
I took some photographs of the building, but it was closed, and
Yeah.
then when asked, nobody could answer what is going to happen with the building, but we had photos of that. Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I'm glad you were able to connect. One question in the list here is, has this book is in Finnish as well, right? Has this Did you start it?
Not yet.
Not at all. Okay, so this is now we have the other problem, right? Usually we can't get the Finnish one in English. Now we have an English one, and someone was asking about getting it into Finnish. Is that part of your plan at all, or is this really focused solely on sort of the American audience?
I don't know if I should say this yet, but we might have a plan next year when USA turns 250. One number from our part would be to translate this also in Finnish, but
That would be
not
great.
decided yet. Now it's only available in English, and that's the best way to read it also.
Agreed. Yeah, wonderful. And get your copy. Did I say that? Anyway, we do have a comment here from Janet Dahlquist, who I think is up in the Upper Peninsula. The gym served as a YWCA until Michigan Tech University's gym was built. So that's just a little extra history there. Interesting. There was another comment here. There was a rumor that Nurmi ran a marathon in 2 hours and 29 minutes during games to prove himself. Is this true? Do we know anything about that?
Yes, he did run, but he didn't run the full marathon. It was the Olympic trials in 1932, and it was in Viipuri. And the last kilometers were run on a track, and he told the officials that he is going to quit at 40.2 kilometers. It was during that time it wasn't it was possible to run the marathon with 42 kilometers or 40.2 kilometers, and Paavo decided he takes only the short marathon. So he never ran the full distance.
Well, and I think that's the interesting thing. I think in popular culture today, if you know about Paavo Nurmi, people think, oh, a marathon, a long distance runner, and they think marathon, but really the concept of marathon, like we know sort of now, that wasn't really a thing. I mean, that he never really ran like the full.
That's right. Yeah.
Sort of interesting, right? So he really was a front runner in that regard, right? Because sort of developing that distance, that's really interesting. Of course, now there's like Paavo Nurmi marathons that happen across the U.S. I think, and you specifically have connected with the one in Wisconsin. Do you want to talk a little more about what's going on in Wisconsin as well?
As said, we made a connection, and the next step is to start thinking about, as we finished our meeting in Hurley. I said that we want to help the Paavo grow again, and to be a kind of how do you say, pilgrimage event for the Finnish American runners in the USA to visit Wisconsin. Our Paavo Nurmi marathon was arranged 1 month ago also, and we did our participant record this year, and more than 5,000 participants. So
That's
it's
fantastic.
one of the biggest in Finland.
Well, and running as a hobby and as a sport has really taken off among sort of like millennials and even younger generations. So I think there's like a lot of renewed energy around talking about Paavo Nurmi and his legacy, that kind of thing. 2 more questions from the chat here. This is an interesting. Do you have any plans to address the experience of Finns in the U.S. in other sports such as boxing? In the first half of the 20th century, there were some Finnish boxers in the U.S. such as Chuck Karle Hellman, the Hellman of Oregon. Thank you. That was from Roman Kushnir. I think, just my own comment on that, I think this opens up, especially in the English language world, the ability to talk about some of Finland's sports legends that maybe people don't know about, but that have these similar stories to Paavo Nurmi about grit and perseverance and that kind of thing. Any comments on other Finnish athletes from history, Kalle or Jari?
Yes, there is a great story of a boxer, Gunnar Berglund, GB. He has a statue in Helsinki, and also, and he was one of the best heavyweight boxers just before the Second World War. So he was on the cover of the Ring magazine, for instance. So he was really a top guy. That's a good idea. We have to think about this.
Yeah, I think there's an opportunity there to open and thanks to the work you've done about making writing this book in English for sort of a larger audience to tell these stories across the Atlantic. So that's really good. Another one here from Robert Sasta in New York. I believe that's where he might be right now. He has a little story here. I recall as a kid, the story was that in the 1920s or early 1930s, my grandfather ran with Paavo Nurmi, including others, as he trained in Finntown, right? Sunset Park in Brooklyn, which was known as Finntown then. Is there any way to confirm this? Did he run with Finns when training in New York or Finntown, Brooklyn, where the New Yorkin Uutiset was located? Did you run into any of that? Sorry, run into, what a pun, right?
It is possible that he ran together with other Finns because he ran in New York quite a lot. So and the New York Athletic Club was a strong sports club. So I have no doubts about that.
Yeah, sounds like
possible.
a great research project for someone to do, utilizing archives and photo material from Finntown. That's great. One other maybe comment here. I don't know about the I can't confirm it or not, but I do love this comment that Roman made in the comment. It resembles to me a Finnish anecdote about swimming contest when contestants should swim all the way from Europe to America. Finnish Jukka took part, almost reached America, but then grumbled, "Damn, I'm tired," and swam back to Finland. I mean, there's something about that story that all three of the Finns here laugh at that because we know that mentality. And I think it comes in so handy in sports, right? Where you just really need that to push through. And I know Anne-Mari is sort of a lifelong sports follower, and I think people recognize this. And like you said, the Finnish national identity somehow coming into contact with Paavo Nurmi and how that sort of solidified this idea of perseverance and sisu and stubbornness, maybe even. We're sort of at the end of our time here, but I want to thank everyone for joining on Saturday. And Jari and Kalle, this has been fantastic. I know this won't be the first time we see each other. Like you said, 2028, we've got a 75th anniversary. We've got Olympics in Los Angeles. I think there might be the recipe here for Finlandia Foundation doing a nationwide virtual Paavo Nurmi marathon in that year. I'm just thinking out loud here, but partner with Paavo Nurmi Games, something like that, you know. So a lot of opportunity here. Anne-Mari, thanks for joining and moderating today. Any last words, Kalle, Jari, or Anne-Mari?
Thank you for this great opportunity.
It's been a great opportunity.
I would conclude this with Paavo Nurmi's words. Like obviously he's a top athlete, but what made him so good? So he wrote this himself. No, it takes a tremendous amount of work. An elite class athlete must pass 3 stages before reaching the top. The first stage is hard work. The second stage is hard work. And the third stage is hard work. Of course, it is an excellent thing if athlete also has innate talent. But it's work, work, work. And I think that's also in Kalle's book, work, work, work. And I think that we can all apply that to our regular life even.
What fantastic concluding words. It almost sounds like President Stubb talking in 3 points consistently. Point 1, this one just happened to be hard work. So Anne-Mari, thank you for that, for the closing words here. Kalle and Jari, have a good rest of your weekend. Hyvää viikonloppua Suomessa, and we will all be in touch. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Kiitos kovasti. Hyvää viikonloppua.